Everybody, we're here with Brian McOmber. He is the composer for a film that he scored the film Fair Play that just enjoyed a premiere at Sundance 2023. And Brian, how are you, man?
Doing all right. Yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. So can you give us a little bit of a rundown of what the film is about, Fair Play?
Yeah, sure. It's a thriller set in the finance world. Um, but as Chloe, the director, would tell you herself if she was here, it's really not about that. It's sort of about relationships and power and what happens when those power dynamics shift at a very high level. Um, and so yeah, and I guess like how it can go wrong. Or another way I would describe it personally would just be a feel bad romance.
Oh, my favorite. Uh, What the press release actually describes the work that you did on the film as a bubbling anxiety attack. Can you explain that?
Sure, I guess that's sort of what a lot of people come to me for. Uh, done a few films like that. I'm a percussionist,
Okay.
and so um, Chloe described it, yeah, and in the from the beginning, and I think that's why she wanted to set it in the finance world. It's like this highly competitive, high stress world. Um, and she from the beginning wanted the music to help the film feel well like an anxiety attack, like the walls closing in, a ticking time bomb. Um, and so so it's with this idea of trying to create like an anxiety attack the entire time. We talked about percussion, fast-paced percussion, lots of clicks, almost like the sound of a clock ticking.
Mhm,
And we used a lot of things like string tremolos and hit sounds like stings,
mhm.
not in the classic horror way of a sting, but like an actual. What would it feel like if you were, or sound like if you were pinched really hard
Mhm,
or slapped?
mhm.
Um, so yeah, we really tried to use textures and timbres and in a kind of like rhythms that elicited anxiety and things like that.
And those different sudden pangs or sudden shots of adrenaline and things like that. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
awesome. So you mentioned from the beginning, Chloe had a particular sound she wanted. Um, were you brought on like right at the beginning, like during right after the script was written, and um, like what stage did you jump onto the project?
She did. She sent me a script, and we had a discussion probably like a year and a half ago about
Mhm.
the music, and more or less that discussion went just as I previously answered that question. This idea of
Yeah.
walls closing in, like time is ticking, this ticking time bomb is like anxiety attack kind of score. Um, so we did that really early. We talked about these sort of stinging hit sounds, percussion. Later on, we brought in elements like strings, but the original discussion was based on a script, and then she went off and made the movie. It got delayed a few times because of COVID and casting issues, but by the time the rough edit came together, I could see that it was coming together and feeling just like this in at least for me anyway, just like the script. um
Just like you had anticipated reading it, and
Well,
and
yeah, a lot of it. There was a couple scenes that we felt like it was too much, especially in the beginning when it really is. You can hopefully feel the love between the two characters. Obviously, we weren't pushing it there. Um, but after that, it kind of
yeah,
all goes downhill.
fabulous. You let's talk about working with Chloe. I mean, it sounds like she had a very distinct vision um, for
Yes,
her film. Um, was this the first time you guys had worked together, or?
it is the first time we've worked together, and I don't think I would. I'm not sure that I would have taken on this material just because it is pretty brutal. I like when I read the script and there's a few things that got cut out of the scripts just because it was too much. Or I think once on the page it's one thing, but then when you see it, especially with these incredibly strong performances by these two incredible actors, it was just too much. It almost took you out, and so some things did get cut. But when I read the script and I talked to Chloe, it was important to me to know that this was a woman who was confident and unapologetic in the vision she had, and was going to be ready to answer to people who would find it maybe offensive or too much. In fact, there was a heckler at Sundance, and I
No.
felt like she did. Yeah, there was somebody who was not pleased and felt like the film sent it to them. I think the heckler said the film sends a dangerous message, and I felt like responded pretty well.
What did she say? Sorry.
I, I I don't want to speak for her, and I don't quite remember exactly what she said, but it was something like, "This is a movie. It's a thriller. You know, violence happens." I don't want to say anything
No,
more.
understood.
Uh,
Understood.
without yeah, because it also might spoil the movie a little bit, but it is kind of shocking, some of the things that happen in the end. So it was really important to me, um when I read a script like that, that the director is confident in their vision and confident in the story they want to tell, and feels well, just, yeah, just confident. And there's no Chloe has no, she's very confident, and that is what got me excited about going down this path with her. And also I felt like she's just like very tough, and working with her, she was never afraid to say what she felt. There was I never felt like anyone was walking around eggshells. It was just like, no, this isn't working. This sucks. Okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's try something else.
Right.
Sometimes I think, uh, and I felt like I could be honest and forthright with her as well. And I knew this film was going to upset and will upset some people, and that's not why we're not trying to upset anybody. But when you're trying to make a movie like this, it's not for everybody, and some people will be maybe turned off by some of the things that happen. But I think that's what she was going for, and I thought that was inspiring. And yeah,
I love a good, brave filmmaker that just kind of sticks with vision. It's awesome.
I think she's going to be one of those kind of filmmakers in the future too. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about what she does next.
That's awesome. How do you? I love speaking with composers because uh, you ride such a fine line. The best. You know that you've done your job well when you went unnoticed, in a way, and how do you ride that line of enhancing without intruding?
Oh, I think it depends on the project too. Some films I've done, I've been instructed to, and I think it was part of the sort of language of the film, or the fabric of the film, for music to come up front at times, and
Okay.
to be noticed. Um, Other films, you're exactly right. The idea is like, if the music is doing its job, you shouldn't even notice it's there.
Hmm.
Sometimes throughout an entire film. I was just thinking about that with Todd Field's Tar.
Hmm.
It's I saw somewhere that the composer Hilder was saying, there's actually more music in this film than any other score I've ever done, but you don't notice it.
Hmm.
However, there's other films where uh, the score is one of the most upfront features of it.
I mean,
Um,
Jaws or Star Wars, a classic John Williams. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
exactly. I like doing both of those things, but
uh-huh.
I would imagine John Williams might not be as psyched to score a film with the instruction from a director being like, I don't want no one to know that there's music here. So no, like, with fair play, and I think a lot of that comes from melody too. There's
Yeah.
no shortage of melody in the John, like John Williams score. It's music with a capital M kind of thing, or he's as I say, a composer in all caps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, someone like Hilder or some of these other film scores that I'm drawn to, or like you said, it's in the back of the head. It's a sort of afterthought, or if you're really doing your job, you're just helping suggest what the audience might or might not be feeling. But that's like probably one of, I guess to answer your question that you're asking how I do that. I don't know. I mean, like I'll say with like Fair Play, one of the things we ended up doing, Chloe, before we had a lot of sound design, Chloe was just like asking for more and more music, or even when there's like these feelings of tension in the room, she wanted drones or something that was underscoring that something bad was going to happen. But these performances were so good that we ended up pulling most of that out. We ended up pulling out a lot of score elements, and to make it, like you said, not feel like there's the music is being too suggestive in any way, because that was going to take away from a lot of the ebbs and flows and these of the drama.
Sure.
So but editing, I guess, is the way you do that. Like thinning things out after. Yeah, it's a
Excellent.
tricky one.
Well, it's definitely appreciated. Um, because overall it just gives the film a nice emotional patina, you know, that you kind of, oh, okay, this is how I'm supposed to feel.
I like that
So
emotional patina. I'm gonna use that.
go for it. So how was it received at Sundance?
Oh wow. I mean, I think it was well, it depends. I mean, the critics obviously loved it. Netflix obviously loved it. I think they bought it for a substantial amount of money.
Spectacular.
Uh,
Congrats.
yeah. Well, I think I think audiences, I think were, at least in the two screenings I was at, where it was really awesome to watch it in a real room rather than just a screening room. We did a couple of test screenings, but almost everybody had read the script. So to watch it in a room with people who probably didn't know what they were getting into was really exciting. You could hear the gasps audibly. There was one instance where the audience cheered, applause and like hooting and hollering. So, and I think that was part of what inspired. I know this about Chloe. Like, I think there's going to be a brief theatrical run of the film, and I think it was important for Chloe to put this in front of larger audiences, because being in that room and feeling a collective reaction, a strong collective reaction, right, is really inspiring. And so it was awesome to be able to see that and to hear the cheers and the gasps
Well,
and all that.
that's like literally why you do it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it really did play like a horror movie in a lot of ways. Like those are I mean, that's why I love going to see horror movies and films and horror films and theaters, is to have that collective experience
Mhm.
where your neighbors screams, someone jumps in their seats, and uh,
Love it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's like that communal experience, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So what's next for you?
Right now I'm working on a couple different things. I'm working on, oh, well, like everything, there's always like an element of horror going through most of the things I do.
Good
So I'm
man.
working on it. Yeah, I mean, but well, there was another film that I helped out at Sundance called 20 Days in Mariupol, which is
Yeah.
about a journalist who was on the ground during the beginnings of the invasion of Ukraine. And I mean, I just helped on the score for this. I performed some like modular synthesizers and percussion, and with that, it really is like a real life horror movie.
Yeah.
And even with that, with the music, we had to tune it down because it's just brutal, the images. So I'm working on another documentary right now about ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, and some of the um, murders that this organization has been a part of. So it's going to be another kind of horror film, but in the documentary realm.
Hmm.
Um, and then there's another one I'm working. See, it's funny. Another horror movie I'm working on right now that is also a documentary um, uh, about shaken baby syndrome.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I find that I'm drawn to these films, and I don't know why, but the kind of films. There's another director that was, when describing why she likes horror films, was saying that like her sort of litmus test of whether something's good or not is if she cries. Um, and I'm not saying that that is uh, the way a good
Well,
litmus test or judgment. Sorry,
that's just her reaction.
that's
That's
her reaction. Yeah, like horror and terror. Um, and you know, like it's really difficult sometimes to watch these movies, but I'm drawn to them, and I feel like a lot of these stories are really important and really heavy emotionally. And so the music that I like that comes out of me oftentimes is reflected in the images I'm seeing, everything from the subjects on screen to the way the camera moves.
mm.
But there's always this element of horror that I'm seeing your shirt right now and it just says horror and I keep thinking about that.
This is your prompt right here, sir.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm working on now. And other than that, I'm actually just doing a lot of music, playing concerts.
Are you in
And
LA?
and yeah, now that COVID's dying down, I'm just getting to jam a lot. There's a couple film score guys that we all get together and play music, just to like remember what it's like to play music with people in a room. And we're all so busy since COVID, and we're always scoring films. It's just been really great to just get together and play music together
Where do
with
you
somebody.
where do you play? I mean, do you play any gigs or
Oh, we haven't yet. No, we've just been. I've been playing some gigs with another band called Marijuana Death Squads,
okay.
which has been really great. But this group of people, there's a couple different composers. This guy, Sonder Jurians and Danny Bensi, they work on like Ozark and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Really awesome composers. But yeah, all of us are just like we miss playing music in bands and playing with each other. But we also don't like want to start a full time. We don't have time to get out there and try to get a set to play or whatever. So we're just having a lot of fun jamming and remembering what it's like to play music in a room with people because
That's awesome.
it's a rare thing post COVID or while COVID was happening, and then also when in the film score world, we're also always like usually isolated and working ourselves. But yeah,
Very
those are the
cool.
things I'm excited about right now.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I best of luck on Fair Play. Seems you already have it. Netflix nabbed it. So, um, but also please come back and talk to us again on some of the other projects because I mean, like you said, there's always a hint of horror in what you do. So, there you go.
almost always, even if it's not like genre. But
Very good. Well, again, thank you so much, Brian Brian McComber, Comber. I'm sorry,
McOmber, that's okay.
McComber. I am the worst with names. Everybody knows it. So, Brian McComber, composer, Fair Play. Thank you so much for your time, and hope to hear from you again soon.
Oh, thanks so much.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye bye.